gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for March 12th, 2025. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Capcom may bring back a beloved game series if we read a bit too deeply into the latest trademark filing. And one of the best weird games is back with something new. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Lucy James Games, everybody. Lucy, how are you doing?
That's right, everybody. Oh, Peanut, get off the keyboard.
Darn it, Peanut.
Oh, Jelly. Oh no, I'm a bit sleepy.
How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm
good.
all right.
I'm good. Yeah, good to. Hey, we're doing that power block thing, huh?
Yes. I wish you were there yesterday, Jeff Grubb, but I'm glad you're feeling better today. This is the last ride for Game Mess Mornings.
That's right. The series finale of Game Mess Mornings, everybody. I'm glad you were able to make it. We're just changing the name. Just changing that. Tomorrow, it should be game-breaking news. We're kind of building some parts of the plane still as we bring it in as we take it off the ground, I suppose. But yeah, we're going to start up game-breaking news along with the power block tomorrow. In fact, we'll talk about all this a little bit more. I did just include the news story from Chris Pereira in here in the rundown. But looking forward to it. It's actually, it's a lot of headaches. It's a lot of like, oh, this is not how we do things. So this is annoying and confusing and a pile of different kind of work. But it's exciting. Change can be exciting. And it's at least, it's a direction, right? It's fun to be like, hey, let's pick something and go for it.
Yes, 100% Grubb. Also, we shouted out a bunch of people yesterday. Folks should know Jeff Bakalar has been working tirelessly behind the scenes, but there's also been an insane amount of work on all fronts. Especially John Luke. Shouts out to John Luke for pretty much building a whole new studio.
Yep, it looks great.
But then, folks, it is going to be a fun time. I'm also happy for you to see more of people like Kurt, Jake Decker, more Tam and Lucy, as well as, man, I love the rest of our team here. Shouts out to Tiff. Tiff is great.
Always on top of things. Like, okay, cool. I wish I would have known about this person before.
Tiff and I do like wellness checks every day. I'm like, hey, are you okay today? You okay today? It's fantastic.
It's just always asking questions relevant to just making sure everything is going to be better and can perform better and just find more eyeballs. And it's nice to have that stuff. But there's, like Jan said, a lot of cool stuff will be happening on the website with a lot of, it's going to be all the shows that we do. But now we're going to get supplemented by GameSpot doing some fun stuff that I'm looking forward to. I think they've already nailed the tone. And so it's all just, as we keep saying, additive. And I think that's the best part of it.
Yes, we're not taking anything away, everyone. We're just adding more things. And also there is a little bit of flexibility to just pick up an idea, run with it for a week or two, and then okay, this doesn't fit quite well, so we'll just switch it for something else.
Yeah, I'm going to do Grubb's gimmicks today, and I was going to play Repo, and then we're like, let's do that for UPF, so I was kind of scrambling. I'm like, you know what? I got that 8BitDo Ultimate 2 controller, and people keep asking me, hey, what are your thoughts? So I'm like, I'm just going to spend 2 hours today. Like, let's test it on a bunch of games. Let's answer a bunch of questions about it. And then one of the ideas behind this is we want to kind of use as much of the Buffalo as possible. So when we do a show, a streaming show, can we get that up on social? Can we put something up on GameSpot's YouTube channel or whatever? And so it's like, I will just, at the end of that, put my thoughts together. After answering a bunch of questions, I'll be in a position where we could just talk about something. We'll post that up as, my thoughts on the 8BitDo Ultimate 2 controller. And that could be, serve up content there. So I'm like, oh, that was a very easy way to think about things. And it helped guide what should be a fun show on Giant Bomb. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Also, since, we have a brand new spanking studio, I'm looking to get in there more. I would love the possibility of perhaps a UPF in person with the team here in SF. Maybe some Jenga in person.
Professional Jenga is back, everybody. The PJL, Professional Jenga League, is here. All right, let's explain ourselves. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess. And, let's also finish the morning mess with Capcom renews trademark for Dino Crisis. This is... I'm curious about this one. You never know what happens when these trademarks get renewed. This comes from Chisei Watch, which is a service that tracks trademark filings in Japan. And on March 4th, they filed a new trademark for Dino Crisis, and then that was just revealed in the last couple days that they did that. There's usually a delay for something like that. I'll go back to something I heard a few years ago. This might have been a Grub Snacks one, Jan. I can't remember. Could have been early on this show.
Lovely.
But I definitely had heard that they were working on something Dino Crisis. A lot of these things that when I hear these tidbits, and I try to give all the information that I hear so people are aware. It's like, oh, okay, he's heard from someone who we trust that something like this is happening, but he doesn't know anything more. And that was definitely the case with Dino Crisis. I don't know anything beyond, hey, they are doing something with Dino Crisis. And then Exoprimal happened.
Yes.
And I just assumed, and I never really looked into this. I just assumed, oh, is this what, I was hearing about? Maybe some wires got crossed and that turned out to be Exoprimal, which people don't remember, was that cooperative horde-based Capcom multiplayer online shooter that was much better than I think a lot of people gave it credit for. That's a pretty fun game. The one where it would like rain velociraptors. So I kind of put that in the back of my head, but I don't know why, because, sure, Exoprimal could have been confusing, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were going to turn to Dino Crisis at some point, because, Jan, they're going to actually run out of Resident Evils to remake, and they're going to want to diversify. They're going to want to continue to grow and offer other options and maybe give Resident Evil a break here and there. They've had a lot of success not taking a lot of time between different Resident Evil products, but they know that can't last forever. So when they need a breather, being able to turn to, here is a remake of Dino Crisis in the style of the Resident Evil remakes, and then maybe eventually here's a new Dino Crisis. At a certain point, the circumstantial, evidence of that makes sense just makes sense, right?
Yes, 100%, Grub. Alternatively, if we didn't see this Dino Crisis trademark filed, but we were talking about other franchises for Capcom to realistically try and remake and remaster. The Onimusha franchise is right there, kind of similar to the original RE games, and that could be something that would adapt pretty well to their engine. But Dino Crisis, it's a and well, I was trying to compare dinosaurs to zombies, very different creatures. But the tension built up and ammo scarcity and the crisis involved could play really well into a remake and a remaster. There's also, funny enough, not a lot of dinosaur games out there.
Right.
The only other one
dinosaurs are just always popular, right?
Yeah, they're one of. I was gonna say they're one of those franchises, but I guess ideas similar to Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where there's some type of dinosaur property that gets reshuffled every couple of years to garner a new audience. And I'm kind of surprised that video games have low-key fallen off of the dinosaur hype train, other than, I don't know, something like Ark, right?
Yeah, you're right. And I think Ark definitely was taking advantage of that, riding that wave, or, it's not even a wave. It's just an ever-present thing, like you said. You're right that beyond that, it feels like there should be a lot more happening there. But I think a lot of times, unlike zombies, where it's just every game's we'll just use zombies. I think creatives feel well, there's one thing sort of using dinosaurs. And I think that, that happens in movies where it's well, we can't, there's Jurassic Park and now Jurassic World, so we can't have a dinosaur thing as well. If we do, we're, a B movie that's trying to just ape on what those movies were doing.
Sure.
And in games, it seems kind of similar. It's well, Ark's already doing that, so we can't. I don't know, maybe because dinosaurs are hard to trademark or something. You can't trademark your Tyrannosaurus Rex. I suppose you can give it a name.
Sure.
But I don't know. I guess I'm trying to apply reverse engineering to why we haven't gotten as many dinosaur games as I assumed we would. But again, I think you go back to Capcom and they are running through Resident Evil and they will still do a ton more Resident Evil. That will be the priority. As you pointed out, they have some Animusha stuff happening now, and that seems to be like the fork in the road that they did select was like, hey, let's go over here. And that's probably correct because that does feel like it has a chance to grow in the same way like Dragon's Dogma 2 did very well and grew. And it was like, okay, this is a different thing that feels separate from all the other stuff we're doing in some ways, but still has some key Capcomness to it. Animusha's in that vein. But I do think that when they take like those teams that are experts at remaking old Capcom games and they get through Code Veronica and 5 and 0, maybe even between some of those, they will look around and be like, let's just take Dino Crisis 1 and do that damn thing.
Yeah, I think it's about time as well. People have been jokingly clamoring for it for years. We've even seen, like, now that I think about it, there was an indie PT-like game with a T-Rex, I believe.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And then I think like the developers had taken it off Steam or something, or were not supporting mods because they didn't want the dinosaurs to get modded into other content. But I think dinosaurs, or a new Dino Crisis, would be a fresh take on the survival horror franchise. And yeah, there's a new Jurassic World movie coming out. I forget if it's in the World umbrella or it's in
I don't know either.
Series, but I think it's about time. We are also lacking for kaiju style games as well, and no one has really tried to fill that void. I feel like Capcom really does have all the tools because, you know, the creatures, the monsters in Monster Hunter already resemble dinosaurs. You just gotta slap a new coat of paint on some of those bad boys, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned the PT there. My brain went to my kids have been playing a lot of Goat Simulator 3 and they stumbled across a haunted house and it was just an entire PT sequence that they played for like 25 minutes where you just go through the hallway a bunch of times and then some people show up or the phone rings or a goat sticks his head out of the bathroom. It's basically the exact hallway from PT. It's like, oh man, this game's got some stuff going on. That's a lot of fun. All right. Well, we'll see if anything happens with Dino Crisis. Of course, we are reading into a trademark filing, and that's, it's fun to do on a show like this. It's my preferred way to talk about something like this because I like to be optimistic and believe things can happen. There is always the possibility that this is just a lawyer on the team doing their job, looking at a calendar, being like, oh, okay, time to go do some housekeeping, looking at the Dino Crisis trademark, being like, oh, we should just renew that to be safe. That way, I'm keeping busy, doing something productive, making sure that nothing bad happens with this trademark where it expires, and then we're in a weird position. And maybe that is Occam's razor here, but I think if you go a little bit further, I'm like, actually, the Occam's razor of the simplest solution is make a new Dino Crisis. It feels very probable, so we'll see. Katamari Damacy rolls on with its first new game in 8 years. This is from Lane Pitts at GameSpot. After almost a decade, Katamari is back with Katamari Damacy Rolling Live, which launches exclusively on Apple Arcade. 5 other games are joining Katamari starting April 3rd. That includes Space Invaders Infinity Gene Evolve, Puffles, or is it Puffies? Yeah, Puffies, Atari's Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic Plus, The Game of Life, and and Sesame Street Mecha Builders Plus. All games are free of ads and in-game purchases. Like other installments of the franchise, Katamari Damacy Rolling Live has players roll the Katamari as ordered by the King of all cosmos to gather objects in a gigantic, chaotic ball to fill the sky with stars. This time around, it incorporates a streaming aspect. Now, players have to energize the King's live stream by rolling their Katamari to create stars once more. As the game goes on, in-game fans appear in the comment section, and the longer they play, the larger the audience grows. Okay. I see some, like, the immediate reaction in chat was unhappy with this because, hey, mobile game, right? But Apple Arcade is a little bit different. I mean, this is where, like, Hello Kitty, that Animal Crossing clone showed up, and that's just a video game. Yeah. Because there's no microtransactions in that. That's on a Switch now. Or if there are microtransactions, it's not like the traditional mobile style of locking you out of, fun pain, where it's like, hey, let's put you in some pain to get back to the fun. But I mean, I get it. Obviously, I would prefer that Katamari Damacy be treated with the full respect it deserves and get a full, in my opinion, real video game. But I think this will be out. I mean, as most Apple Arcade games are, out on console in 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And then people could just play it then if that's what they prefer. And these games, you can play them on your Mac Mini, on your MacBook Pro with a controller, I'm sure, and it'll just be a video game. So how do you feel about it?
I feel pretty okay about this. Just like you mentioned, Grubb, Apple Arcade is kind of a different beast when it comes to mobile. We have seen pretty good games come out of it. There is the Hello Kitty Island Adventure game. There was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hades-like that came out a year or two ago, as well as some other gems as well. But I do not believe that this will be locked to Apple Arcade for very long. 6 months to a year. I believe Hello Kitty Island Adventure was on iOS for about a year before it eventually got ported to the Switch. And maybe this is Namco testing the waters if there is an appetite for more Katamari Damacy. I've always thought it would work well on mobile because then you could just be kind of like swiping away and rolling your ball as you go along. I would love for a VR game like this, personally.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. That could be fun because you just take the two controllers, or even like on Oculus, the third one, you can use just your hands and it can track your hands.
That'd
so
be
it's
cool.
like maybe just play that way. That feels like that would be a good use of something like that. So yeah, that would be neat. I would enjoy that. I think that we have to recognize where the weird games are at these days. I think I was listening to a news show like this, and not kind of funny, a different show, where like they were talking about some games that I think are coming to Xbox Game Pass or something like that, and they mentioned Mullet Mad Jack, and for me that's like, well, yeah, everyone knows about Mullet Mad Jack. I think it was awesome. Like, how do you not know about that? And they mentioned, like, they're like, I looked at this game and I had no idea what it was, and it looks so cool. How do you not know about this thing? But if it's not a major game from a major publisher, actually the majority of people don't know about it. And Katamari Damacy, despite being for me a fundamental building block of what weird games can be, most people don't know about it. So I think when a company tries to get one of these games made, going through Apple, getting the bag, taking it and saying, okay, well, we'll do that, and we'll also be free to put this game out wherever we want 6 months later. And also because it's Apple Arcade Plus, it doesn't have to be laden with free to play mechanics.
Yeah,
it's definitely not best of all worlds, but it's kind of like the best of all compromised worlds, right?
I think so. This increases the visibility than Katamari would have otherwise, I think, because, like you said, Grubb, I consider Katamari Damacy like kind of like a pillar even for the PS2 library, but there are a bunch of folks that maybe thought it was too weird or just never came across it at all. Mm-hmm. But having this on phones, so many people have iPhones, so many people have an Apple Arcade trial sitting in a menu hidden away. I'm pretty sure they give those away with whatever Apple product you buy these days.
Every Apple device,
yeah. That at least some people will give this a shot that may not have ever heard of this odd, weird franchise, and they may be compelled to check out previous titles, or like I said, Namco will see like, okay, people want like a full one of these, and eventually maybe make a PS5 Xbox title like a full-fledged one.
Yep. I do like the idea of Twitch streamer King of All Cosmos. That's gonna be that could be fun and funny. And really, as long as they get the character writing correct and the poses that those characters do, the music, if that bangs, and then you go out in there and do the fun gameplay, I will be happy with this. And I have had Apple Arcade Plus. I think I might have canceled it when I was doing my purge of all my subscriptions recently, but I'll get it back for this and play it. That sounds perfectly acceptable to me, because I do have a MacBook Air and a controller that I plug into that thing or connect via Bluetooth, and I will be completely happy with that. And then everyone else will be able to like just play it several months later, like has happened with Hello Kitty, which seems like it's doing very well on Switch and Steam.
Very well. Very well.
Yeah.
And part of the appeal there, other than Sanrio characters, is that the game is continuously being updated. They're adding stuff constantly to that game. And where Animal Crossing has kind of plateaued with new content and everything. So the people making farms, Grubb, they want more cute stuff.
Yeah.
That's what Hello Kitty's doing.
It's providing a service to the people.
She's
Jimmy
only
says,
5 apples tall.
That's I wonder how many apples tall Mike Minotti is. Jamie H. Christmas Eve in chat says Apple TV is now on Android, so I wouldn't be surprised if Apple Arcade comes to at some point. I would be a little surprised by that, just because those games are not directly compatible. So the work would have to be done, and would Apple want to help facilitate that? Probably not. But wait, is Apple TV on Android? Because I literally tried to install it the other day and I couldn't find it. I had to go to the web, and it actually works really well through Chrome browser on Android. So I'm fine with that. But I did not. The app is on there. Okay, did this just happen like in the last night or two? Because I was trying to watch Severance on the phone.
That's what it is. Everyone wants to watch Severance.
Everyone wants to watch Severance. Okay, let's keep going here. New Nintendo patent hints at improved voice chat on Switch 2, and I'll believe it when I see it. This is from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. A new patent from Nintendo seems to suggest that that voice chat will be better implemented into the Switch 2, finally overcoming one of our biggest complaints with Switch 1. The patent was filed back in November before being published by the United States Patent Application Office late last month. The main thrust of the text and diagrams appears to outline something akin to in-game proximity chat, as the summary confusingly puts it, and here we go. The sound heard by the user can be gradually switched from the sound acquired by the residual virtual microphone at the position before movement to the sound acquired by the virtual microphone at the current position. I think what they're trying to say is that they are patenting the idea of gradually turning up and down the volume when someone walks away from you in proximity chat in a video game. So that it's not abrupt and weird. It just sort of happens at a way that sounds better to the ear. I think that's all that is, which is bizarre, but hey, whatever. The idea that Nintendo even knows about proximity chat is actually maybe the most surprising thing here. Someone points out, Sambo Nice in chat, proximity chat in Mario Kart. Like, wouldn't that make a lot of sense if that new Mario Kart is like a Burnout Paradise open world style Mario Kart?
Oh, don't tease me, Grubb. That sounds amazing.
That could be pretty neat. Okay, really though, Jan, the thing that this gets at is the way for this to really the only way for this idea to function is if voice chat is supported natively within the game itself or on the system level, so that it can communicate with the game itself. It cannot really work, or at least I suppose it'd be much more difficult and obtuse and weird if it did all these things through your phone, through a phone app, the way it works on Switch 1 right now. So for me, the news here is Switch 2 is going to have voice chat essentially built into the system or some variation of that idea. And I know that feels like table stakes, but it's Nintendo, so we just don't assume. I'm happy to hear this. How about you?
I'm surprised, I guess, that this is a focus for them, just based off of how they've treated online interaction in the past and how strongly Nintendo feels about kind of protecting younger gaming audiences from like the bad stuff out there. Picto Chat, I feel like, was pretty far for them, and as well as the Splatoon little voice bubble written messages, where a lot of stuff got past filters there. So I'm curious as to how this will get moderated, if at all, or if this is going to be, I don't know. I think it'd be funny if maybe on top of the proximity voice chat, if it does come to something like a Burnout style Mario Kart game, maybe it just has you speaking gibberish and it just like auto not translates, but auto affects your voice.
Yeah, it turns like just translates it into like the Tomodachi Life character voices or whatever, like just really processed computer voices. I would love that. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned PictoChat. Like, I can't think about that without thinking about the first time they demonstrated that in the United States. Someone drawing a penis and Miyamoto seeing it and getting sad and leaving the room. It's like, yep, that's first of all, very funny sentence. PictoChat penis makes Miyamoto sad. And then second, yeah, it's definitely one of the reasons that they have avoided this long term. So if they're bringing it in here, I do assume that they probably are using some aggressive moderation system, maybe AI. I mean, tracking what people are saying with their voices now is easier than it's ever been before. You can have AI agents in every single chat room listening to people, and if they say something hateful, could almost kick that person in real time.
Sure.
And Nintendo might be the kind of company that might be that aggressive to do something like that. But it's also possible that like this will be protected by friend codes again.
Sure.
Where
Yes.
It's like you can only get into a room with someone if you give you an explicit friend code permission, and so we'll see. But really, just having this option built into a Nintendo system at all, and the Switch 2 being built with these ideas in mind of like, let's make sure we still have some spare memory, some spare processing power to dedicate to these social features that will live on top of the game and be running on a system level potentially. That's good to see as well. Nintendo was like, okay, we have a more robust platform now. Let's make sure we take advantage of that. Because I think one of the reasons the Switch 1 didn't get a lot of stuff, like even like music in the eShop already runs like crap after years of cruft. If they had music in it from the beginning, just kept doing it, it's like, oh, that's one more thing to load. It would just make that thing run even slower. And I think they were just really afraid of that after the Wii U was a really poor experience. Where I remember they had that little roulette matching game that you would play when it was loading because it loaded so slow. They had to give you something to do.
Now, Grubb, we may be approaching this at a completely wrong angle where we are assuming that they are implementing all this microphone tech and what is essentially proximity chat to interacting with each other in a video game in a multiplayer format like Mario Kart.
Sure.
What if they're just adding this to perhaps a Mario Party where you're just playing Marco Polo?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if something like Hey You Pikachu, teaming up with Sega for Seaman, which I think you guys, I was too tired to listen yesterday. Did you guys talk about that AI Aloy thing at all on the show?
Yes, and we discussed the irony that Aloy's whole plight in the Horizon franchise is fighting against rampant AI monsters.
And the fact that the one thing everyone hates about that game is when she talks. like, hey, please stop telling me stuff. But yeah, it's like, boy, if they just said, what if we did this with Seaman? Everyone would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
A new Brain Age, perhaps.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Brain Age, where it's like because there was stuff in Brain Age with voice recognition where you would like read out loud and it would track you and stuff like that, and it would be like, oh yeah, hey, we can tell if you are slurring your speech a little bit. Let's slow down and let's take time here to really think about what you're saying. I could use something like that.
My cognitive development has stopped after Brain Age.
Yeah, for real. I did get Brain Age attention training out for the 3DS again. That's pretty good. Those three backs, which is when it gives you three math problems and you have to do the addition or subtraction for the problem three back. So you have to remember every single one. I've never gotten past three backs. If four backs exist, I've never seen it. And but at least I'm maintaining that level now, which was pretty difficult for a while, for me for a while. Well, hey, April 2nd is just not that far away. We are rapidly approaching that being just weeks away. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get a lot more answers about stuff like this, I think, because they're going to show off more features of the system. They're definitely going to show off games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Nintendo will go deep into like, here's what the operating system features feel like, or is that maybe something they hold off for a little bit closer to the launch?
I think that is something they'd hold off until launch. That's not my main desire with this April 2nd presentation coming up. I want to see the other games that they have in the bank. Grubb, it's only 3 weeks away from today.
Yeah, we are basically halfway through March already.
Now my tummy hurts.
Yep. It's messed up. It's a hell of a thing. Yep. So you're right. I think that they know games have to be front and center. Of course, like as always with a new console, the forced obsolescence feeling of making people feel like, well, this thing has a dashboard that feels different, so it feels new. That is one, like, it's a mental trick that all these companies always play for the most part.
Mhm.
And I get it. So they probably they'll show off some of that stuff, but I think it'll be in flashes and glimpses instead of deep diving on that, when they could just deep dive on what is really going to sell systems, and that's what this Mario Kart game is and what other games they have to go along with it. God, I do hope we see a Mario, although feeling like maybe that's something we get a glimpse of, and then they promise more on that later. All right, let's take a quick break, Jan. We'll be right back after this with more headlines. All right, let's get right back into it. Lucy James with Monster Hunter Wilds. Producer claims crossplay and heightened immersion caused its success, and we'll see about that. From Malcolm Poole at DualShockers. In a recent interview, Monster Hunter series producer Ryozo Sugimoto gave their thoughts on what made Monster Hunter Wilds such a huge success. The scope of Wilds' accomplishments are hard to overstate, as the Gamer points out. Wilds has sold over 1.3 million, or had over 1.3 million concurrent players at its peak on Steam alone, and that platform was perhaps the worst option to play Monster Hunter on, given performance issues. Successes like that don't come out of nowhere. When asked, Sugimoto had a few things in mind that drove everything we're seeing. First among them, a sense of immersion fueled by the game's increased focus on story.
Okay.
Jan, do you think that's right?
No, I think someone's just tooting the wrong horn here.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Do we think that, like, is he just saying this because it's something to say, or does he really believe this? Because I've played some Monster Hunter Wilds. I've been playing some other stuff that's going to be coming up soon, so I've been a little bit distracted from that. But I have been, like, listening to a lot of conversations and talking to a lot of friends who have played this game. And everyone across the board, even the people that I consider to be, like, the opposite of me in terms of engaging with story in video games. I was listening to Into the Aether, which is an RPG podcast.
Mm-hmm.
These are people who basically play video games for the story. They're like, boy, that just skipping through everything. I'm like, what? You're skipping the cutscenes? They're like, yes, we're skipping the cutscenes in Monster Hunter Wilds because it's not what we come to this game for. We just want to get to the hunting of the monsters. This is wrong. I think it's just incorrect.
Hey, there's some meals that are cooked in the story that look really good. I didn't skip those.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm in the same boat of skipping through as most of the story as possible. And also, I feel like there are parts of that game that you experienced when we did on UPF where, all right, here's a walk and talk. We're just going to walk to this campsite, and then we're going to talk to these little dudes. All right, cool. We'll walk back now. I don't, unfortunately, for as proud as they are of the story, I do not think that is the strong suit of Monster Hunter Wilds. I think the open world aspect of it and you being able to kind of just start a hunt anywhere you're at is the strong suit of the game, and also just the focus mode, the secrets are the other aspects that have kind of streamlined it that I think are the appealing parts rather than the story. Also, unfortunately, sorry, Nada. I don't think anyone wants anything to do with you, kid.
Yeah. I think he does also say crossplay, and I mean, of course, that does help. I mean, really though, I think if you had to point to any one thing, it is this game launched basically everywhere at the same time. It launched on, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC at the same time. And so all of that excitement built up, and then the crossplay helped facilitate and gave no reason for someone to be like, well, I'll wait until all my friends have it on this specific platform. Oh, you're buying it on PlayStation? All right, I'm going to wait for it to be on sale there. Like, no, I'll just get it on PC where I love to play, and I'll play with you. I'll meet you online. You're on PlayStation. Who cares? I mean, I think that's clearly the biggest factor. This is the first time that's happened. Monster Hunter Worlds was on, it wasn't just like behind, like development was behind in such a way on PC that the expansion came in way later than the expansion did on console. Yeah. And then Rise, was a Switch game that they eventually put on PC, which was cool. I'm glad they did that, but that's not what happened here. It was everywhere, day one, and that excitement just burst all at the same time, and it was impossible to ignore. And I hope they know that.
I think they do know that. I would hope they know
that.
Right. Michael O'Leary points out it's the sequel to Capcom's highest selling game of all time.
That also helps.
That also helps, right? Like, and also Monster Hunter World was developed in such a way that it hooked so many new players in, gained like a whole new audience. And I also feel that the overall temperature of gamers has kind of shifted to embrace some of the cumbersome aspects of Monster Hunter, because people have dealt with like how Elden Ring or the Souls franchises kind of don't communicate anything to you. And with Monster Hunter, of like, okay, the more I engage with it where I want to, I will get more out of it. But also, I can just swing away with my hammer or my longsword and have a fantastic time with friends. And I can do that in a whole new game, and things feel a little bit better, unless you're on PC. Hey, sign me up.
Yep. I just think all the factors played a role here, and they all sort of culminated in this one moment, and then the game was available everywhere. So though it was able to then have this multiplying factor of success, I think, right there, ready to go. And it's just a series that has really thrived on word of mouth for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's just in the best position to take advantage of that. It is those two things. And I think that when it comes to story, if they want to do more of that going forward, that's fine up until maybe the walk and talks. This is a series that doesn't need that. I think if you want to have more conversations that happen as you are traveling between places, that is, God of War in the boat sort of thing. I guess those are technically kind of walk and talk adjacent, but those cease once you get to your destination, then they'll pick up again once you get back in the boat. If they want to apply something like that to add some flavor to the world, that's probably fine. But I don't think the storytelling is what just about anyone's coming here for. Even the people that like the story, I don't think that is the bread and the butter of this franchise.
I'm kind of surprised that they did focus on the story so much for this title. I feel like the franchise would do very well story-wise if they kind of just scaled it back and made it into a cheesy action game.
Yeah.
Because your hunter does really cool stuff in the set pieces with big monsters, Grubb. And also, I love seeing my little Palico doing his thing of like, all right, yeah, buddy, let's go, in some of the cutscenes. But the more somber moments where I'm like, okay, all right, I get what you're going here, but I don't need this.
Yep. All right, let's get to this next story. EA adds microtransactions to Skate, even though it's still in closed alpha. This is from Mike Straw at Insider Gaming. EA has officially added microtransactions to Skate's latest alpha in an update message sent out to players. EA teased an epic gameplay update along with other exciting updates to the game. One of those updates from developer Full Circle is the addition of microtransactions to the current closed alpha playtest. This, according to a message sent to players that has been provided to Insider Gaming. Known as Sandvan Bucks, this in-game currency allows players to buy various cosmetic items. According to Full Circle, this is being added to make sure players have a positive experience when purchasing items from the Skate store. All right. So I think this is weird because they are monetizing a game that is very early in testing still, although apparently this game's maybe still coming out in 2025. EA is scheduled to release this game sometime this year. So maybe not that early. Now, I think it's important to add here before we have a real discussion, Jan. This game is intended to be free to play, is my understanding. I don't think that's changed. So they were always going to have microtransactions. And I think them wanting to test that before they release the game and making sure they get it right is okay-ish. I don't know. I think this is a game where it's going to be, they've pitched it as a hangout game. It's a game about hanging out. And so that means it's going to be, the fashion needs to be the thing that drives the economy of the game. So they're going to have to make stuff that people actually care about showing off. And I think they could probably figure that out, but them starting now, it's okay. I kind of wish there was a way to do this in a virtualized way so that people didn't have to spend real money on something that's not really out.
Leave microtransactions at home for now.
Yeah.
Grubb, I agree with you. If this is a free-to-play title, they're the way that they're going to make money off of this 100% will be through microtransactions and getting all these funny costumes, etc. I, timing-wise, just don't feel like we're in a good spot right now, especially with Tony Hawk 3 and 4 getting announced. I know that has faced a little bit of backlash due to the changes that they're incorporating for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, but there's still a lot of hype and positive buzz behind that game that Skate 4 hasn't and doesn't seem like it's anywhere close to coming out. That, especially if it's like a closed alpha, I don't think now is the time to incorporate that. If it's an open beta and hey, like you can get this free thing here, you can get this free cosmetic to show off that you participated in the alpha or this beta. Sure, that's the time to be like, hey, by the way, if you want more cool things, we are going to charge for those things. I wouldn't do that right now while it's a closed alpha that not a lot of people can get into right now, especially with how the tide is turning of people being disappointed that we're never going to get a 3 and 4, and now, we are going to get a Tony Hawk 3 and 4. I feel like video game skating audience has always kind of been skewed between, I like skate because it feels kind of real, or it's more simmy in some aspects, versus the arcadey, funny, goofy aspect of the Tony Hawk franchise can bring. But I feel like for a while, skate was eating that skateboarding lunch because Tony Hawk had kind of just went off to pasture. But now that Tony Hawk is back, I don't know how much popularity skate can pick up after that in the aftermath of 3 and 4 releasing this year.
Yeah, it's going to have to hit with that streaming audience. I think that's who they're building this for. It's going to have to hit with an audience that wants to hang out with, like, hey, I have my server where I go and hang out with my other streaming buddies, and we're all just building shit for one another. And then it's like, that has to then appeal to the audience, so they want to go do the same thing with their friends in their Discord. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off, although I continue to think it's a pretty decent idea. I think it's a pretty solid way of expressing skating culture in a video game. As far as microtransactions, the way that this is going to work is it's real money you are spending now, and it is your money. They're not, I mean, as far as the story says, they are not handing out money to people to spend to test this stuff, but the purchases might get reset, and when that happens, you get the money back, and then you could spend it again in the finalized version. It's a weirdness. I think people will be fully aware of this stuff. Anyone who's in the closed alpha is probably getting all this information blasted in their face and saying, know what you're getting into. And I suppose, if you're out there testing the game for a company, you should know what you're getting into. So maybe this is actually, it's just not that big of a deal, but it is just weird. And I think I always just have this like, is this something that I even want? Is skate coming back in this way something that is worth what might be happening to it? And again, we don't know, but I can imagine a version of this game that does work very well for a certain type of audience. Whether or not that's going to be big enough for EA, boy, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I feel like EA is going to perhaps struggle with the cosmetics aspect, and I feel like a lot of people, celebrities, IPs would maybe want to be a guest character in Tony Hawk, because that's now again a proven franchise again. They've already done Proving Grounds, Grubb. Everyone's proved. But with Skate, I could see that, like, I don't know, maybe if they Fortnite-ify it, where like, yo, my Alan Wake is rocking Crocs and he did a nollie front flip.
I mean, I think, there are a lot of brands that I think, and skating is going to be more popular than it's ever been in the next couple of years. It's already kind of at that position now, and I think it's going to keep growing. When the next Summer Olympics come around, that'll pop off again. And this is, usually outside the United States because it is just blasting off in popularity around the world. So I think there's going to be a lot of pop culture figures who will be looking to reach a certain audience that will be happy to be in there. There will be a lot of brands that will want to be in a skating game. So yeah, I mean, from a business perspective, this game continues to, I think, make some sense. Whether or not they can bridge the gap or skate over the gap from that business case making sense on a pitch deck to being something that people actually want to spend money on because they are hanging out with their friends and they want to show off their cool stuff that they bought. It's a big question, and it's tough to I think it's just going to be tough to make that work. Although I hope they do, because I think it'd be great to have both Tony Hawk going and skate going again, and then maybe we get some weird extreme sports games once again.
Sure,
get some SSX and Matt Hoffman's BMX.
For folks out there that want more skating content, I highly suggest the Japanese game show, Kasso, Kasso on YouTube. It is good stuff. They design kind of like Takeshi's Castle style challenges for skaters to go through, a bunch of fun obstacle courses. Great stuff. The U.S. Red Bull skating team also recently did an episode. Fantastico.
Ooh, I'm gonna watch that. That sounds awesome. All right, let's actually skip to this next one, Jan. Pokemon Go developers set to be acquired by Saudi Arabia's Scopely in $3.5 billion deal. We had heard that this might happen. It's gone through. Scopely now owns Pokemon Go and all the other games in the game, assets and all that stuff for that Niantic previously did. This comes from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. Saudi Arabian-owned mobile developer Scopely has announced that it will be acquiring Niantic's video game division, paying $3.5 billion for the developer behind Pokemon Go. Also included in the proposed deal, which was revealed several weeks back, are several other Niantic titles like Monster Hunter Now, which I forgot about, and Pikmin Bloom, which is fun. This is the number 8 largest gaming buyout in history. Yeah, I mean, hey, Saudi Arabia kills journalists, but I live in a country that would love to do the same thing. So what am I doing anymore? But that sucks. That sucks. I really dislike that quite a bit. And this is, that is a country where when they talk about Scopely, that does lead up to Saudi princes. All that money comes from that, one family. It's a massive family, but one family that owns the largest corporation to ever exist in the history of the world. And it's a private corporation, so it's hard to know that, but by far the largest corporation in the history of the world, Saudi Aramco. So it's blood money, and that stinks. But boy, these companies just are going to sell to the highest bidder and not think about it all that much. And it never felt like Pokemon Go would have some happy ending, Jan. I don't know why I felt that way, but I never did.
Yeah, I can't imagine, especially with the big boom it had when it originally released. It had another big boom during the pandemic because of all the remote features that they added. And at this point, Grubb, it feels like a very bloated game where it is near impossible to exist as like a free-to-play player.
Yep.
And also that onboarding system now, I can't imagine is particularly great for anyone wanting to start it out. Most of the people I know that still play Pokemon Go are playing on multiple accounts that they've had since the very beginning. They've dropped unspeakable amounts of money on Pokemon Go, and I just can't see this being a good fit down the line, and I just don't know what they're going to be able to add to Pokemon Go moving forward to really it's worth a lot now. I just don't see how much more growth you can have with that game at this point.
Yep. And they'll make their money back from that dedicated audience. I'm sure it makes probably several $100 million a year still. So they'll probably make it back pretty soon. As far as Niantic goes, they already have all that data. They will hold on to the data that they've already collected and be able to use that for military contracts. And now Saudi Arabia gets to have that data. So
yeah,
I probably will not be playing Pokemon Go. So they do not know where I am personally. Would not be a big fan of that. Although I'm sure they already know. Okay. Blizzard boss says more TV shows and movies are possible. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. 2016's Warcraft movie is one of the highest grossing video game movies ever. That money was largely attributable to China, and reviews of the film were not all that great. Despite that, Blizzard hasn't ruled out trying again to adapt its franchises to film or TV. In an interview, Blizzard president Johanna Faries said the short answer is that the company is looking at everything with regards to expanding the franchises. I mean, it feels like the movie and television gold rush for gaming hasn't ended. It feels like it's still going. I mean, each Sonic movie does better than the last one. And I think as long as that keeps happening, all these companies have got to be asking themselves, should we and why aren't we? And I think Blizzard's maybe at the top of the list of those companies that should be, right?
Yeah, it feels like a no-brainer, especially with like the strategies that Sony was trying to implement a couple of years ago. Who's to say that they haven't been working on other stuff? That secret level, is that what it was called? The Amazon?
I think it was Secret Level, yes.
Limited run show. I feel like did very well, garnered a lot of hype with some of the video game IP it was associated with. And yeah, you're right. The Sonic movies, gigantic. The one Super Mario movie we've had, gigantic. Detective Pikachu, massive. That a lot of companies are probably seeing it as money on the table. That being said, I don't know if I myself want to watch any Blizzard based TV shows and movies, but there's definitely an audience out there. 100% there's an audience for whether it's a show, some shorts, or fully fledged movies.
Yeah, and I, as a parent, I always I see all these properties, and I'm like, that should be a kids show. Like even forgotten games from Blizzard. Like someone mentioned, hey, Three Vikings a TV show, and I think they're joking, but no, you should just take that and make a cartoon on Prime Video or Netflix, and that's something that could easily get 4 or 5 seasons. That's the way that kids content works on these platforms. At this point, this is their moneymaker for a lot of these streaming platforms. Because when I did do the purge, Jan, of my streaming services, a couple weeks ago, the ones I kept are the ones where my kids watch those shows. So Netflix could not go away despite massive price increases, and I think I'd rather prefer to cancel it. It is hard to do so when there is a new season of Gabby's Dollhouse every 6 months, and they just watch that show on repeat. And if you don't know about Gabby's Dollhouse, you're not a parent. That's that simple.
Well, that's a parent.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Jack Black. I do foresee a future where they make a Guitar Hero movie featuring Jack Black.
Jesus, Jan, I'm almost surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Cut the check, Paramount.
Yeah,
I don't know why specifically Paramount.
Yeah, no, it'll be Paramount. Yeah, it feels like Paramount. All right. Once again, let's just remind everybody the new Power Block starts tomorrow. That is Thursday, March 13th. GameSpot and Giant Bomb join forces to start up the Power Block. We have essentially it's you've seen it. That's what we've been doing on the website so far, streaming a block of content from about noon to 5 p.m. Eastern every day. That's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific, with a lot of content that you're familiar with. And then we're going to be sprinkling in some of our friends from GameSpot when they can do shows. It will be malleable. The schedule will shift around as needed when new stuff happens or a Nintendo Direct happens, and we're going to talk over that stuff. We'll still jump in and do that stuff. But when it's not happening, we have a pretty set schedule. And I think the thing that kind of separates this from when we tried this before is everyone's thrown in all in on this. And so it's this is just the way we work now. This is the way work gets done here. So there is no oh, well, I guess we just won't do that. No, something's going to happen in these slots every day now. So looking forward to it. It is been a lot of fun to figure out. And Jen, yeah, honestly, I did not see this Power Block art until the story published. It looks fantastic.
Yes. This is courtesy of Dan Auer. Shouts out to Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's been a labor of love and heartache and frustration. But folks, like we said at the tippy top and during the Bombcast, we hope you enjoy it. A lot of hard work has gone into this. There are fun things planned, and also to kind of amp up the you gotta be there while it's happening aspect. There's also programming in between the shows as well that I as far as I believe may or may not get archived. So you gotta be there even in the in between. So Grubb, you've said this multiple times. Just leave us up on a monitor if you can. Have us be your coworkers during the day. A lot of unfamiliar faces may pop up at first. You're familiar with the names at least. I mean, I'm speaking specifically to the Giant Bomb audience, but hey, we work well with everyone, and we want you to see the hard work that everyone is doing.
All right, we have a poll question from Monday. Do you have Wi-Fi 6 or better in your home? 27% said no, 35% said yes, and 38% said I have no idea what you're talking about, so probably not, unless, your Xfinity thing came with it, which is, maybe likely these days. This got asked because the Switch 2 is reportedly through an FCC leak or filing, and maybe it's not a leak, it's a public filing, confirms that will have Wi-Fi 6, which is much faster than the Wi-Fi 5 that was in the Switch 1. Will most people be able to take advantage of it? Seems like a good number of people will be able to do so, and it is going to be much better for downloads. That's true. Should be more solid for online play as well, although Wi-Fi 6 in a lot of situations still not going to match. Well, it's not going to match Ethernet. It just won't. If you're playing Smash Brothers online, go ahead and plug that bad boy in, please. But hey, I am excited for this, even though I would have loved to have seen Wi-Fi 6E, as I keep saying. That's in the Steam Deck OLED, and it's been great on there. Jan, we have a new poll question. Before we do that, though, what do we have happening on the website today?
What we have happening on the website later today, Grubb, you're going to continue with Grubb's gimmicks. You're going to examine some 8-bit DOE controllers. We're going to test some inputs.
Got it right here.
Oh, look at that. It's pretty.
Look, if you do this stick over here, you could see the light over there move.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
And then, folks, you want to stay tuned later today. Dropping at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, a new season, mini season, I guess, of the Lightning Round, where Mike Minotti will be playing Fester's Quest. And if you haven't seen what that game is like, oh boy.
He's playing Fester's Quest, and wait, Jan, actually, do we have that trailer? Do we have time for that? Because we're kind of running a little bit late. We gotta get into it the next show, but.
You're the next block anyway. Are you okay with us showing this?
Yeah, let's show it. This is the trailer for Fester's Quest. Yeah.
Okay, I think I have this set
cool.
up here.
You get that set up. The new poll question is wait, where did I put the new poll question? There it is. Have you ever played a Katamari Damacy? Yes or no? We'll get that. We'll talk about it on the website on Game Breaking News here on the Power Block, everybody. That includes content from GameSpot and Giant Bomb. Very excited about it. Yes. All right. You ready to go?
I believe so. Folks, I'm not going to blast this in your ears.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I need to just change one thing so the folks at home can see it.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go.
I could hear it. That was nice.
There we go.
I guess this is what you use for voicemail dump truck, right? So
yes.
It's already just set up.
Folks, you should be able. Yep, you can see it now.
Shout out to the Video Game History Foundation for helping out with this. Phil over there. Just was pinged me. It's like, hey, I have this. Apparently got it from the estate of one of the people that worked on the game.
Okay.
This is One Tough Video Game. Fester's Quest is one tough video game with sinister mazes, deadly traps, hideous monsters, and spooky graphics. But if you make just one mistake, you start all over again. Fester's Quest, the video game from Sunsoft for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Are you good enough?
All right, so Fester's Quest on Play Club starts today at 3 p.m. Eastern, everybody. Watch out for those hideous monsters. A lot of times we hold off on announcing what the game is, but you know what the game is. You don't know exactly what he's going to look like, everybody. I mean, we have a pretty good idea, but you're going to want to see that reveal. You what? Oh, shit. He was watching. Oh, fuck. Just block it out, Mike. Okay, shoot. Let's get on with it. Jan Ochoa, are we forgetting anything? We did the new poll question. We did what's happening on the website. I think I just need to thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for watching and listening. And yeah, the show's not going away. It's going to just be game breaking news. But, might as well. Thank you, everybody who's just been with us so far. It's been awesome. And I'm just looking forward to doing this show forever. So let's keep doing it. See y'all tomorrow for game-breaking news on the Power Block, GameSpot, and Giant Bomb. Until then, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.